Dun, 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 dun.
So, looks like we are live. And probably first thing people are wondering is that we've had to have a little shuffle around for today due to some absentees. But still, firstly, we have Nikki. Hello, hello.
Hi, Govan and Melanie.
Lovely to have you here. We also have Ken
Hi, always nice to be here.
and the two new people joining us for the first time. Not Carl's first time, but yeah, first we have Carl. Wizard. And finally, we have Likitia. Hello.
What do you mean? Like I'm penguin? Come on, focus.
Wait, have you and Penguin ever been in the same stream?
Yes, we have like on
Oh.
some of those massive panels.
I
Just
think so.
debunk the
That was
theory
fun.
then. Just debunk the theory that you're Penguin.
I should have paid more attention to what I was saying, and god damn it.
Looks like they can't. Looks like they can't hear you, Carl. Maybe. Not sure about that. No.
Well, they should be able to hear me now.
The wizard works his magic. The council is set.
We're ready.
Welcome, everyone. We are ready.
And so looks like so. I want to say hi to everyone in chat. So, someone said Lakitia. Hello, Kuglabits. Okay, sorry for pronunciations. Anikit, Sean, Beluk, Benicia, Unkai, and Aniket Istori. And does the stream have an assigned simp yet? So yeah, well, I'm sure there will be simps soon enough. But I think the main reason everyone's here today is to talk about. So we put out a tweet saying, Carl, could you actually get this up? Because I know I haven't sent it. Is the new Dark Lord one? So we said, and this I think got like 3,500. A lot of like.
It's up now.
Yep, the new Dark Lord. That's the interesting thing because people said, how many Dark Lords are there, Ken, in Tolkien's works?
Two.
And who are those two?
Morgoth and Sauron.
If Morgoth and Sauron, then if this is a new Dark Lord, then how? It must not be either of them. And now, we reported before about this character called Adar. And Adar, of course, is being played by Joseph Maul, which is so this is what we're talking about today. So this isn't really this is kind of a leak / rumor, but at the same time isn't. Main thing is that this is also not a spoiler of sorts, but going into the show, when you see the next trailer, probably whenever you might see something on Tolkien Reading Day, when you see the next trailer, before the show comes up, basically you're going to see this new figure called Adar, and he's going to seem like the Dark Lord. Maybe in a trailer clip, or maybe in a 5-second clip, you're going to be seeing, him leading these orcs in attack or something. So the big thing that is going to be from this, from leading up to the show, and this is not spoiler because you'll be knowing this in a few months anyways, that he is the new Dark Lord, this mysterious person. Is this? But then people be thinking, is this Sauron? Is this not Sauron? Who is this? And I think that is the interesting thing that Amazon are dealing with, and from what we can tell, Adar is of course a twisted elf, and of course we also reported that it might be one of Galadriel's brothers as well. So the big thing here is that, is Adar Sauron? Is he not Sauron? And if so, why is Amazon going with this new Dark Lord type figure? Because trust me, in the show, Adar is practically going to be, the stereotypical baddie. He's the head of the main villain. He is the leader of the orcs. But does that mean he is Sauron? I think that is the interesting thing from what we're going to be discussing today. First off, I think should we actually get up the tweets now, Carl?
Certainly.
What we do know about Adar, I think for Nikki as well, and who would be looking at some of this for the first time and for some of the chat as well, to remind yourselves about who is this now. And also another theory, I think is people thinking maybe Adar is a substitute name for Anatar. Do you think that could be a possibility? The rights.
Yeah, I mean it depends, right? Because we know that they don't actually have the rights to that name, as far as we know, unless they do have like a, a la carte type of deal where they can pick and choose certain things that help them tell the story.
And if we scroll down quickly, we get to the Adar bits, and so the first thing here really is that Adar is an Amazon original character. That's the first thing. Second thing is that he's a twisted elf. So, Nikki, from these leaks, it seems like Adar is not Sauron and independent of Sauron. So, yeah, what do you think about Amazon making this brand new original character to be their new Dark Lord type of thing for season 1?
Well, I didn't think he would be Sauron at all because I feel like they still have a lot to reveal, and probably a lot more exciting stuff to come, because it is still a long way away, the show. I think that it's if Sauron is not going to be in the first season at all, for instance, it's always good to have other bad guys because the show a story can get pretty boring without good fighting evil. So it would make sense that they would have some sort of bad guy. But I mean, he can be anything from a servant of Sauron to an evil guy that they have to deal with in the moment. For like half the season, he can be a scapegoat. Like he can be the scary evil version that they're using before Sauron is even introduced. So unless they plan on replacing Sauron entirely with him, I still think it is a positive thing because he can be so many things, and there are more bad guys than one in this story, and many people make many bad choices. So I'm pretty excited. I want to see what he does.
And I'm sure probably leading up to the show, anyways, on like the posters, we're bound to get more posters because you haven't seen anything from Numenor or, Evil. We did see some Hobbits. There's still some unexplored places. Maybe you get some Tolkien reading day coming up soon, hopefully. I think probably, yeah, as I was saying, the main point is that he's going to be marketed probably as this big new evil villain in the show, and a lot of people, of course, Tolkien fans who don't watch or know about Fellowship fans probably thinking, who the heck is this guy? There's only Sauron and Morgoth, and now we've got this third Adar figure. I think you think that might be a problem, and potentially, Hen, of having
It could be. If he's a substitute Dark Lord, which I don't think he is, then it could be an issue. If he's like an alias for, or a servant of Sauron, it will work. But yeah, I doubt they're really doing it like, as a replacement of Sauron.
I think they actually might be presenting him as a character that the audiences will potentially be speculating that he is Sauron for a while. Because as we now believe, Sauron is not going to be presented as such from the get-go, so there's probably going to be this huge mystery who Sauron is. And I think all the marketing showing him as this, flashy, very gothic-like villain, I think could be a ploy to have the audiences believe that he is in fact Sauron. And there's also another thing that I wanted to address, which is I find it really interesting, like Nikki said, that we are going to be introduced to several of the baddies and we're going to be getting to know more of them as well. Because in one of the Vanity Fair articles, actually Patrick McKay said, and I quote, we didn't want to do a villain-centric thing. we wanted it to be introducing these worlds and these people who dwell in them, and the major heroes and characters, some of whom you know, blah blah blah. So I think it's really interesting that they are not trying to put a big focus on the villains yet. It seems that there will be quite a few prominent villains in this show. Because if we're having Adar, and if we're having somebody who will end up being Sauron, and potentially even the Halbrand character seems at least a little bit shady in my opinion, I think it's looking quite likely that we will be having quite a bouquet of villains.
Sure, we should definitely have more than one. Whether they're all subservient to Sauron or not, it makes sense to have more than one. No. There's more than one good guy, there should be more than one bad guy.
And I think maybe adding on to that around if you want to interpret McKay, actually I think Lakiti said McPain's, I think that's a good way to say it, McPain's comments even further, then maybe it's like it's not going to be villain centric. So in the first season we have this Adar, who of course is a villain but not the true villain. So, which is why season 1 you have the substitute villain or something, and then further down the line into season 2, into season 3, then we have we have Sauron probably revealing himself, then maybe Halbrand maybe becoming the Witch King, or another character becoming the Witch King. Some people in chat said, John Buckley says, Adar is budget Sauron, like the Walmart brand of Sauron. That could be
Sauron from Wish.
Sauron
That's
from
funny.
Well, I think part of it is also that, Amazon's clearly trying to make the casual audience believe that this is Sauron, like this is your big bad for the season, and when it ends up not being, that's a big surprise, and it's that's good for TV.
I think that's what they're doing because when his casting was revealed back in what was it, like October 2019, the article, I think it might have been Deadline, they also mentioned that he's the main villain. So I think they wanted to start building this image of Adar. He was referred to by his codename, which was Oren at that point. So I think they wanted to build him up as this huge villain from the get-go, so have the audiences believe that this is in fact the baddie once they start watching even before they start watching the show.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that a show can do is, I've seen this before, like they introduce a villain who is the main villain of the first season, and they fight him, and then they defeat him, or they like think they do, but then he either goes back, and then it turns out there's an even bigger villain behind him, and then they come back bigger, or they defeat him, and then all of a sudden and he dies, and all of a sudden someone bigger comes around. So they could be doing something like that, because if they play the Sauron card too soon, it is going to significantly shorten the time they can stretch this into. Because they're still doing the time compression thing, but they're still, the sooner they introduce Sauron, the sooner the end game is going to have to happen. And so it's a good play for them to have other villains to keep it interesting, kind of like his messengers, his little minions doing stuff, or maybe they're doing stuff on their own behalf, kind of like Saruman was a little bit. Like he was in it for himself. He wasn't really that in it for Sauron. So yeah, no, I think there is lots of potential there. Keep it interesting. I want this series to last for a long time, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you both mentioned is this thing where there's like maybe, I think what the chat are mentioning as well. Like Rebecca says, I want Sauron to go up to Adar and use the line from Elf, "You sit on a throne of lies," and people saying Sauron's gonna make the orcs turn him, Sauron's gonna kill him at the end of season 1. John Buckley said that. And I think the thing is, people want a confrontation between Sauron and this Adar, and maybe from one of the leaks that you can see on screen right now, we have this, Adar and this hooded robed figure again. Of course, I don't know who this is, whether this is Sauron or not. Apparently, supposedly it was Sauron, but these two go head to head, and maybe that's the big thing of season 1 at that point, which would be quite an interesting thought to be actually. Do you think it would be a good idea to have end of season 1, Sauron reveals himself, and then the people then casual viewers find out that Adar is not Sauron all along, and this other person is. And they have, a drama moment. And I don't think it seemed like from earlier you didn't really agree with something like that. Yeah, what were your thoughts on that?
I think saying in the trades that he would be the main villain, Adar, is kind of. I think there's a good chance that it is Sauron. The other choice is what Nikki said, basically, which is that he's a minion of Sauron, and Sauron isn't revealed until his minion is dealt with. Which,
that's the question, though. Do you think that they're making it like they're, the costume design in the poster clearly points to them wanting us to believe that it's Sauron? Do you really think that that's the direction they're going in? Like, are they, is it something?
I think the way these things are done, they can sometimes. I think Amazon, it's the sort of thing that is kind of more of a twist, perhaps, to casual audiences than it is to fans.
Yeah.
Much the same way that I know Peter Jackson was very adamant not to reveal the identity of the necromancer until the Desolation of Smaug, even though anyone who knows the story would not like, you know what I mean? But for casual audience members, it is a twist. I think Adar, or Sauron at least, will be treated in the same way, in that we would be able to tell who's Sauron, but casual audiences will be surprised, perhaps. And I think you could do that with Adar, so that we would know that it's Sauron. It'd be pretty difficult to trick. I mean, come on, it'd be pretty difficult to trick us.
Just hearing what you're saying just reeks of just do the Anatar and Eregion plot. Then that's what it just sounds like. If they're going to this land, they just do the exact same thing, but in Eregion,
I don't know.
as an unconfirmed rumor that this is apparently one of Galadriel's brothers. So, Nikki, do you like the idea of having Adar be one of Galadriel's brothers?
It could work. It could be one of the ways that they be pleasantly surprised when the plotline is actually revealed, and when what they're doing and who these characters actually are is revealed.
I think if Adar does end up being some sort of Sauron's lieutenant and a brother of Galadriel, is it just me, or does this really sound a lot like Darth Vader?
So I was going to say that, yeah.
It's like this mysterious character. We don't know who he is. He's the lieutenant of the big bad, and then, oh, here it is. It's somebody's relative. It's the big emotional punch, and la 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 la.
I don't like that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, same. I don't like that too much either. I think one thing that came to mind, what they might be doing with Adar is they may be building him up to be this sort of a rival of Sauron's. Like, have him be this elf tortured by Morgoth and turned into this, I don't know, powerful being, la la la, and maybe he wants to establish a dominion of his own, and then looky, it's Sauron. So
maybe that
to have this similar. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say maybe that's a sort of a similar dynamic as Sauron and Saruman at the end of the Third Age, where we have this powerful Maya, and then this upstart. Okay, he's a Maya as well, but not quite as powerful as Sauron at that point. Whereas in this case, we would have this tortured elf whose powers have been blown out of proportion a little bit. I don't know. I think that might be something, and then they off him by the end of the season or something, and then later on, and then, we end the season thinking, okay, so it's looking good. The bad guy has been removed, and then the beginning of the next season, we see... Yeah, we see Anatar, riding into Eregion on his donkey or something. I don't know.
Well,
no donkeys,
I kind of feel like they would have the cliffhanger before the end of the season, because if they leave it till the start of the next one, it wouldn't really be a cliffhanger. But
agreed. I think.
I mean, with the relative thing, I feel like it's not just Star Wars who has done that. Tolkien has also done stuff like that in Silmarillion, with people disappearing, being kidnapped, tortured, and then coming back, and then not realizing that that is their relative. Blah blah blah. Lots of stuff happens. So I mean,
That is true.
Tolkien does that too. So it's not going to be completely off canon. It's not going to be like, whoa, that's new. Tolkien would never do that because he did do that. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
agree
one
with
issue is kind of the soapiness of it.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with exactly what you're saying there. I think the issue is it's a big plot point that's not talked about in the canon, and I think that's why it's hard for us to all wrap our heads around. But I don't. Other than that, I don't think there's any real issue with it.
But if you take a plot point that Tolkien has talked about and has included in his stories, and then tweak the little details so it actually fits another story, then that.
I'm
You-
not
you-
saying I agree with it, but I'm saying that it would
Yeah.
make sense to someone who's trying to make TV. Like that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that
that's
is
the
true.
thing here as well. They are trying to make everything
Yes.
interesting enough to watch for everyone. I don't
Yeah,
know about you guys,
I
but
don't
I
know.
love the Silmarillion, but I struggled through it. I love the
For sure.
appendices, struggled through them because it's just chaos. But once you sift through the chaos, it's brilliant. So I can understand they have a challenge in getting everything to fit the right way and still make it interesting for people who don't know the full stories.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not saying I agree with that choice. It's just it's one way they could go, for sure.
My issue with that choice is that, and we've seen it so much, it kind of like when you turn these kind of stories into kind of familial dramas, you risk it becoming kind of prosaic, kind of like a daytime soap opera in a way. So he's your brother, and it gets to be, and it gets to be a little much.
Mhm.
Certainly had in the case of
Mhm.
Star Wars, that's the extreme example of that. But yeah.
And I think for me, really, I think the reason behind creating this Adar type character, as you can see in the first two, is that Sauron is in season one at some point, but probably near the end. The fact that, of course, McPain has said that it is it's a hero-centered story this first season, and it's also a probably 5 season show. Having I'm not sure how this compares to other TV shows. I know, for example, in Game of Thrones, there was some, talk of evil and whatever they're called, but that didn't actually come out until later season. I'm sure in other shows as well. Um, the evil necessarily having it in the first season when the show's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons long. It doesn't really work that way, so it makes sense maybe just for the first season, get everyone introduced to the world, have this new type of makeshift villain, see where it goes, but then in the end, get people in, and then from season 2 onwards, that's when okay, we've had a Darth season now. Now here is Sauron.
Just one last point about that. I think maybe this is just my speculation. I wonder if this could be a way for them to build Sauron up, where they're compressing the timeline so much. This could be helpful in building Sauron up without having all that time to build him up over.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Sauron is Meteor Man, for instance, like big if, maybe the full first season, he seems nice. Like we don't know. And then this other character is designed to sort of distract us from that. And people who don't know the source material will be like, well, okay, what? This is the bad guy, but then all of a sudden it's Meteor Man, and then bam, drama.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what they might be doing. Yeah.
As much as I don't
And-
like the kind of making everyone related storytelling, I also don't like this kind of storytelling that is constantly trying to surprise the audience. Like,
Subvert the expectations. Oh,
yeah, I don't like that. It gets cheap after a while, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drama in inevitability, rather than in you thought this was this, well then that, you know.
And I think Rebecca Davis in chat said if Joseph Muller just on for a season, that's a waste of a great actor. I think from what we can tell, I do think that Adar is beyond just the first season. I don't think you get, of course, a spoiler alert. I don't think Adar gets, fully in the season 1 twisted out, he gets killed off or anything. I do think we'll see him more beyond the first season. Maybe that lends into the fact that maybe he is Sauron, even though he's most likely Galadriel's brother. But yeah, I do think that at least for the first season, Adar will be the vocal point, and whether he, after season 1, he slips into the background. But thing is, maybe he becomes. It depends really how Sauron becomes established. Because if he is because if he still has to remember with the forging of the rings, that still needs to happen, and you can't reveal yourself to be Sauron if you haven't even forged rings yet, and do all that. So it'll be interesting to see how, how publicly in Middle Earth, the relationship between Sauron and Adar is. Are they together? Are they not together? Etc. Etc. I saw some people saying that. Hope could he be a lieutenant? Could another option be Adar is maybe just doing Sauron's bidding in season 1, and the fact is maybe this hooded robe figure we're probably going to see a few bits in the season, and we know he is Sauron, but then for everyone to Middle Earth, they think Adar is Sauron. Could that be a possibility? And he's just being his henchman, basically. That's another thing that we haven't. It's another alternative that we haven't spoken about yet. Just having him as just doing out Sauron's orders, while Sauron's pulling all the strings in the background.
I mean,
like his grunt.
The most likely option is that he is. I mean, if he's not Sauron, he's probably Sauron's subject.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to have Sauron at least talked about in season 1, and the best way to do that is to make the bad guy who's actually boots on the ground be subservient to Sauron, a kind of off-screen presence, On that, I have no idea.
And I think even extending that thought to the fact that maybe we see a fallout between the own villains. So maybe the big thing of season 1 is that we got Adar and Sauron, and then maybe Sauron, because okay, I'm just talking off the top of my head, but maybe you make Adar the main public villain of season 1. He's doing all this in Middle Earth, and while that happens, you have this hooded robed figure who is actually Sauron, either go to Eregion and forge some rings, or go to Numenor, depending on what they're doing with the time compression. So I think, could that be a possibility? Save it so we, the audience, know that this hooded robe, or maybe it's the other way round, and I'm probably going to start confusing people now, but in the season we see this hooded robe figure publicly shown on screen either in Numenor or Middle Earth in Ostinatil, etc. And then at the end of the season he pulls down his robe and he's Sauron all along, ordering Adar. And I can tell probably from Nikki's face, I'm not sure if I confused you or anything, but I hope people do get to see and do get my point, I hope. And I think it's a good thing of having a character like Ken. You done this last week. Stop the typing.
You need to mute if you're gonna type, man. It's just we can't.
It used to work in my older setup. I was typing all the time. Okay.
But yeah, no, it's confusing. There's a lot of theories, but it's like I said as well. It's like there are so many ways they can take this. It's I find it difficult to see exactly where they're gonna take everything. Because I feel like what they've shown us, they might potentially be trying to guide us onto the wrong path. So that we don't actually get onto the right path, because we've been right too many times now already. So I don't know. I find it difficult to predict what it's going to be like. But all the theories can work if they execute them properly. As long as they don't change all of the parts that are actually canon, like the characters that we know are supposed to be good and are supposed to be evil.
Yeah. Also, hello Walrus92, and also hi to Stride, who said in the chat, as Denethor said, every smart lord will first put his captains in front, and he himself would stay behind. Adding on to what Nikki said, as there being so many, speculation. Carl, if you could get up on screen the image of Morgoth, because how do we incorporate Morgoth onto this? And I did, of course, promise a few weeks ago that we would be having some interesting potential Morgoth leaks in a couple of weeks, but of course not today. I think someone mentioned it here, and I think again it might have been Carl that maybe, I think someone in the comments actually, someone, Troy Hillman said in chat, I was once a darling elf, and now I am your Adar. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. But away from that, maybe we know that Adar is twisted as a twisted elf. He's been, gone through hell and backwards, and I was the leader of the Orcs. Maybe this is of Morgoth's doing, and he's maybe Morgoth's lieutenant, and not lieutenant, but a product of maybe Morgoth's evil, and that's why in season 1 we have Sauron and an independent Adar. What about that possibility?
It could be. I mean, there were remnants of Morgoth's reign and of Sauron's reign after they vanished or were murdered or were temporarily destroyed. I mean, there's always something remaining, right? They don't just combust into midair and disappear. And all of these evil people, they don't just magically become good, because they didn't become evil without either great pain or because they wanted to. So
Yeah.
it could make sense that he is, because I don't know if Sauron, it depends on what part of the timeline we start, and where they're going with it, but I don't know if Sauron would have already risen to power and succeeded in torturing elves and turning them into whatever Adar is already. So he could be a remnant from Morgoth's time that just isn't as powerful as Sauron. And either serves him or serves his own purpose.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt as well. And Venya1648 says in chat, who does Adar command orcs? I thought the Orc League claimed that orcs are believed to be extinct. So has Adar been in hiding for thousands of years with the orcs? First of all, we might not even know it's thousands of years because of time compression. But secondly, so first 2 episodes, I don't think we will see any orcs, or if so, hardly any. But then, of course, we talked about Bronwyn's village finding out that there are orcs back, and I think Orcs and Adar maybe start from episode 3 and beyond. Because interestingly, even though Joanne, I think in a variety, is it not variety?
Vanity
someone
Fair.
help me
I
out.
get confused
Vanity
as well.
Fair. Yeah.
Variety
Said she
Fair,
did
as
no mention about
Verkin says.
Variety Fair. No mention of Adar, and I think that's quite an interesting thing. And I think for the first 2 episodes, everyone in Middle Earth don't think orcs have been extinct, and suddenly they come back, and that's the big thing, which develops. First 2 episodes, you have to set everyone into the world. Then that's when probably when this show starts to pacing up a bit from around episode 3, episode 4, when orcs are back, and with Adar as well. And
I'm not sure I agree. My thinking is there are orc attacks, but who is it that doesn't believe that the orcs are back? It's the elves back in Linden. In the they don't have cameras and cell phones, So if there's an orc attack,
maybe they do in this adaptation, Hen. Yeah. We don't know.
If there's an orc attack somewhere far away in Bronwyn's village in the Southlands, they just don't hear about it in Linden, or they don't have conclusive proof of orc presence. You get what I'm saying, though. It's I think that's much more likely, because Galadriel is fighting something in the first 2 episodes.
Nice Troll, that's what it is.
Nice Troll is one of the things that's in the forward life, but she's also fighting something in a village somewhere, because we have a very nice picture of her with an explosion behind her and everything. I mean, there are orc attacks, probably, but
I don't think
Gil-galad isn't aware of them, perhaps. Certainly, Tar Palantir isn't aware of them.
Fake news. Fake news.
plebs are.
I think the most likely scenario is that all of Middle Earth don't know that orcs are back, and then Bronwyn's village gets attacked somewhere in the east, far away. Then they realize, oh, orcs are back. Oh, how about Middle
Yeah,
Earth? How
small
are they going
village
to know?
somewhere, like in the middle of nowhere. Like who else
And
would
I
know?
see,
You know.
and I see that probably happening from episode 2, episode 3 to still from episode
Well,
2,
I think it
episode
will
4 to
happen much
start.
earlier because you need to put a fire under the story, and you can't wait until the third episode to do that. Plus, Galadriel is already on the way to Numenor in like episode 2, so you would imagine the instigating incident would happen before that.
Yeah, that's true. Can I just interject with a complaint? Because ever since you guys said that possibly Adar was, just hiding with the orcs for several millennia, I keep having this image of Adar cuddled up with a bunch of orcs getting cozy in a cave somewhere for like 1,000 years. And I'm not kink shaming or anything. It's just I just can't get this out of my head now. Thank you. Carry on.
And I think there was another. Here's a theory from Hoglorf. It says maybe Adar isn't actually evil, but just posing that way. If he's an elf who has been captured in Angband and a father figure to orcs. That's part 2. Please tell me she posted part 2. Like it looks like part 2 of the theory isn't there yet, but I'll be seeing and I think there haven't been any other theories in.
Well, it could be something completely out there, like he's the brother of, Ismael Cruz Cordova's character, and he was taken when he was younger, and I don't know. I mean, it could be something completely out there. It's just interesting that they chose to use him as one of the posters that are the first ones that they release, and he's the only one who looks significantly more evil than the rest.
The post drop, Carl. So I continue. And
I mean, the character description is villain, so so it's not. But yeah.
But I think sure. Nikki, do you wanna carry on?
Yeah, well, he could have like I don't know, he could have his moment of redemption maybe towards the end.
Sure.
He could be evil all the way till he turns, but then at the same time the poster itself just it's designed to look, I feel at least, it's designed to look a lot like the way Sauron was portrayed in the movies. And yeah, I think they did this on purpose, 100%. And it is not to say that he's Sauron. It's to put us off the scent of whatever else he is.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what the main thing of that's what the title is. Who is the new Dark Lord in the show? It is you guys. Well, of course, we're calling it now, but in a few months you'll be seeing that we are seeing this new figure leading orcs, leading these orc attacks, being this villain. Look at that armor that we're gonna have up in a second. That does look. It looks like a not replica, but quite similar to Peter Jackson's Sauron.
Well,
so I'm sure
that's exactly. Look at this. Look at the armor. Look at the pose. What is the first shot that I can remember in Peter Jackson's prologue that we see of Sauron? It's this
him walking
fist holding his mace or whatever. It's this close up like exactly like this. It's exactly like this.
The pose is the same. The armor itself is in the same style, but it's not actually the same.
Yeah, but it's not random. Like they would never use the exact same thing though, because that just wouldn't work. But like they have purposely done this, and it is for a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if you just get a casual viewer who's seen the movie a few times and also the scenes, this poster, whatever, sees Adar on the show, I'm sure they would put 2 and 2 together, not go into any of the minute
There are also
details.
There are shots of the gauntlets of the Witch King that look a lot like this. So
Mm-hmm.
The bad guys, it's the bad guy look. Spiky.
And honest.
I mean, as if the good guys can be a little bit goth. Just, prejudice. Terrible.
As long as he gets his redemption, he's not evil. He's just misunderstood, as my partner always likes to say. He has great potential, I'm sure.
I'm not always redeeming the bad guy is certainly a choice. It depends on what the bad guy has done, though. I mean, very often it can feel like a token redemption if the redemptive act isn't like if
Yeah.
the things that the character had done are much too like disproportionate to the redemptive act. It feels
Well, he would
like
have
a
to be
token redemption.
self-sacrifice, obviously. He would have to die.
Yeah, I'm not sure self-sacrifice is in every instance necessarily a good redemptive thing. It depends on what the bad guy has done.
Just
Well-
have him save some puppies, and everybody's gonna be willing to forgive him just about anything.
Of course, yes. Well, the one thing that I can say that we do know for certain that he's not is one of the 9 because he is an elf and not a human.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's
So
not.
at
that's a
least
good
we can
point.
take that out of it.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully.
I think so.
Unless he had
I
his
think
ears shaved and then he became human.
And
know.
some
Wow.
Viking has said in chat, maybe he's the Dark Lord because he's part orc and can't go outside during the day or he gets sunburn from last week's leaks, so he rules the darkness.
He's Dracula. Wahaha.
Yeah.
Well, he is a vampire.
You know, yeah,
There is that.
to be fair, if you do actually can't get back up the the original Joseph Maul and Adar thing, of course this is not how we don't know how he's going to look like in the show. Of course we kind of do now with this poster armor, but he does look like some Dracula evil villain type thing, I think I'm sure yeah, Carl will have that.
We can't have sexy Sauron. At least we get sexy Joseph Maul,
But-
right?
We
Yeah,
don't
I
yet
think-
have sexy Sauron.
Yeah.
I'm still
People would-
crossing my fingers.
People were originally quite mean to Joseph Maul, saying that how can he be Sauron? We want sexy Sauron. So I hope, if it is him, I hope Joseph Maul pulls it off brilliantly. Is all I would. I think we've got a good forehead shot of him there, but
Sorry.
I think it's
He
all
does
good.
have an impressive forehead, so
Yeah.
Is that,
Of course,
yeah.
these all these edits are done by Chillin Garden, I believe, is this one. So yep, props to him.
Yeah,
And
beautiful
on
edit.
Reddit. Oh no, I've just seen in the chat now. Dawes did nothing wrong, and I think this is Varkin's
There we go.
doing. I think.
Yeah, he's definitely not a dwarf. I agree, Walking. We do know that he's not a dwarf. That's true.
Mm.
And he's not a
Okay.
hobbit.
Varking is recruiting in the comments. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
You have
Okay,
to keep an eye
now-
on that guy.
Now it's time. Well, every week we're having this now. We're having the Fellowship of France crazy theory. Oh, the Fellowship crazy theory. And of course, it's speculation. Haven't heard nothing around this. But what happens if. Of course, no one wants to dispute this, but it seems likely that at least there is no like villain or evil probably until like literally the end of episode 2 or the start of episode 3. Orcs, etc. What happens? The reason that he's not in the first 2 episodes, this Adar type figure, is maybe because Adar is Meteor Man. Could that be a possibility?
That doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
But
we
it's
Isn't
Meteor
Daniel
Man.
Wayman Meteor Man?
Yeah.
How can you be both? Like,
Everyone
is he
is
gonna
Meteor Man.
shapeshift? Oh wait, everyone is Meteor Man. Yes,
Everyone.
everybody just.
You're Meteor Man.
Meteor
You're
Man
Meteor
could
Man.
be.
Everybody's
We're all
Meteor
Meteor Man. Woo!
What about Meteor Woman? Can we get that trending?
Yeah, why did we get
do they have
Meteor
beards?
Woman?
They
course.
should have beards.
Oh, I know
Absolutely.
why. Never mind.
100%.
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting though if Meteor Man can shapeshift.
It would be
That would
interesting.
be a really,
Yeah, let's not.
really interesting.
I don't
Well,
think
Sauron can.
Tolkien wrote about shapeshifters.
No.
I feel like that belongs to like Alien and stuff.
Sauron,
but Sauron
Sauron
was
was a
a
shapeshifter.
Sauron can shapeshift, yes.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
Beorn can
mean,
shapeshift.
he
Beorn-
could
it
be
happens in
like
Tolkien
there could be
stories.
several people throughout the series that are Sauron, but we don't know because either there is time jumps or time compressions, or like they're showing him in Numenor as Joseph Mole, and they're showing him in Hobbit Land as Meteor Man, and they're showing him in Dwarf Land as a dwarf. I mean, who knows? Like he could be everywhere. He could be all powerful.
He could be, but I think they'll try to keep it simple. If you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
like 5 different
hope
actors
so.
portraying the main bad guy, that gets a little bit confusing. So
Yeah, they did that with
It'll
that
also get them
film
into
with
the
Heath
whole
Ledger.
oh yeah, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Yes,
But that
that
was
was
because
so
Heath Ledger
confusing. I
died.
didn't
So
understand it. Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
it was just it didn't work. Like
No, it didn't work. No.
I also think if you do that, you open up a lot of questions of, wait a minute, how does he have time to, be in all these like, it's not,
Yeah.
it's the sort of thing that screenwriters then feel the need to answer, and it becomes very messy and difficult to do. I don't think they'll do that.
We just need the one stupid sexy Sauron, as people in the chat put it now. I agree with that. Just the one. That's all. Thank you.
And it's true. I apologize, chat. I do know that like there are a lot of shapeshifters in this story. I was kind of picturing the kind of shapeshifters that you see in Alien, and not the people turning into birds and wolves and all of that. Didn't even think of that, to be honest.
Though.
Yeah.
The shape shifting is something that is kind of weird on the screen. In like, the reason it works for Bayon is that we barely see him as a very minor character. But like, if there's a lot of shape shifting happening on the screen, it will feel really kind of out of character because it's very overt kind of magic. So I get your point. Even though there is precedent for it in Tolkien's writing,
we have come pretty far. In the film industry, we have come pretty far with regards to CGI and all of that. But I mean, there's a reason why Animorphs only worked as books and didn't work as soon as they tried adapting it to TV.
Yeah. It's just very overt magic, and the kind of aesthetic that people are associating with Middle-earth on the screen is one of magic that isn't terribly overt. Most of the time, if there is magic at all, it's light play and stuff.
Yeah.
So shape-shifting is tricky to pull off, and I don't think they'll go that direction terribly much.
And I think to get the chat more involved, if put a W in chat if you think that if you are excited with having this new Adar character. Put an L in chat if you don't think so. I see. Also, we could also do a poll. I think we could do as well down the line. But put W in chat if you like this new Adar addition by Amazon, and put an L in chat if you don't think so. And we can see what people have to say for that. But then in the meantime, I think F. That's the first one.
That's useful. That's very useful. Thank you.
Oh wait, F in the chat for that does make sense. But I think having Meteor Man and maybe okay, we got L W W L W W.
Oh, that's cute. That's a poll.
Now, I'm sure if we reverse questions saying what are your thoughts on Adar being Galadriel's brother, I'm sure we would get a lot of L's on that one. But going across, starting from Lakitia to Ken to Nikki to Carl, what are you WL on Adar, this whole Adar creation by Amazon?
I wasn't paying attention, and I don't know which letter represents which option. But I'm
W means win, and L means
okay. Yeah. W. I'm all up for it. I think it sounds interesting. I'm a bit confused as to. I know they had to give Sauron people to interact with, and I know that we have to have other baddies in the baddie camp, and I'm not sure why they didn't just put canon characters, like canon baddies, in there. But I'm all up for it. I think he sounds interesting, and I think Joseph Mole is a very good actor who can really make him compelling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Ken? W or L?
I'll be W. I'm not sure what they're doing with him, and depends on what he ends up being. It may be good or bad, but for the meanwhile, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and go with W.
And sorry, before I jump into Nikki's one, someone said, Runkia said, I don't like the phrase "the new villain" because it sounds like he's more important than Sauron. He's an additional villain, or at least I hope he is. Sauron, come back, please. And I think Sauron will be back, but in season 1, Amazon will mark him and make the story and plot will make Adar seem like the main villain, and that's the main
You
takeaway
know,
from today.
yeah. It's kind of
think
like, talking about villains, they often fall into, it's a very important comment in a way, because they often fall into arch-villain, the mastermind, and the henchman in a way, but the guy who gets, the bad guy who is actually on the ground and getting things done.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily always the same thing as who's the main villain and who isn't.
Yeah.
Like
You
sometimes
have
the
people that come
mastermind will
in
be the
and
main villain.
yeah.
Sometimes the henchman will be the main villain, shielding through his presence and things. No?
Yeah. Well, you always have the protagonists and then you have the antagonists, and I mean, something needs to happen for something to happen. So, it's a long road, it's a long journey. There's a lot of material to cover. At least this way, if he's not Sauron, which I'm hoping he's not, they can stretch it out and make it and keep it interesting. Like they will, because imagine them just fighting one villain for like the full 5 seasons. It does get a little boring and a little long. So there has to be some wins along the way. There has to be small wins. There has to be villains that get defeated. There has to be henchmen. There has to be deceit. There has to be this feeling of winning, and then you didn't really win because it turns out it was part of the plan. You know, there has to be all of this stuff for it to be interesting. I would love
And
to
there is
see a
something
little
nice,
bit of joy as well, not just misery all the time, because I just want to dive into the world of Tolkien again, but there has to be stuff happening all the time. Otherwise, they will lose viewers.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said for having like a season or a stretch of story that doesn't have the scourge of Sauron right over it all the time.
And I think even like for example, it extends to like any type of villain. For example, I'm sure we won't see 5 seasons of, despite Lakitia's dismay, 5 seasons of sexy Sauron. Like that wouldn't like, it wouldn't work. Even have Dark Lord Sauron like for 5 seasons, it would never work out like that. Maybe for season one, it's a hero-centered story. You have this new villain, bring everyone into this new Middle Earth world. Um, um. And then down the line, season 2, when McPain say that that's
I'm
when.
so happy that's catching on.
Well, we did it with Meteor Man, and you've got the whole community saying Meteor Man, so hopefully McPain catches on at some point. But I think they did say that more of the stories we love will probably come in season 2.
I do hope season 1 isn't too much just table setting though. Because it's part of it really sounds like that.
I don't think it will be because they still have to. Still have to hook the audience, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's what Adar is for, is to hook the audience. Maybe that's what it really. Actually, but maybe Meteor Man as well. Maybe that's what's going to really hook the audience. So,
I mean, we have to remember that. I mean, even in our time's history books, they cover the major events of life. And what happened, but there was so much more going on around the world that it hasn't been written, that hasn't been covered. And although this is Tolkien's work, and Tolkien did an amazing job listing all of this and writing stories, there could still be a lot of stuff happening in the world that hasn't that could still be happening along the way. So just getting filling it up a little bit and getting that the opportunity to get further into Middle Earth is interesting.
And even Walrus 92 said in chat, Adar could be a surrogate main villain for the first 8 episodes because Sauron is babysitting the Harfoots. Because we did, of course, reveal that there is Sauron would be,
or the Harfoots are babysitting him.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
maybe.
exactly right. Yeah.
And then Aniket says, what if Sauron put up Adar to act as a Dark Lord while he himself goes around help? Yeah, okay, this is thank you, Aniket, because that's probably how I was meant to say it earlier, but I said it long-winded and not in with a lot of clarity. So this is what I was trying to say. What if Sauron put up Adar to act as a Dark Lord while he himself goes around helping the good ones actually, well, not the good ones against Adar, but more actually, no, technically, if you are doing it, for example, as in regards to the goes around helping, while Adar's the main villain, for example, by go around helping in Numenor, maybe
Yeah.
Halbrand,
So he's
helping
a scapegoat then. That could
yeah.
work. That could work.
Okay, maybe another crazy theory time. Maybe Adar, Halbrand tells the Numenorians to come to Middle Earth because of Adar's attacks. Of course, Adar's acting under Halbrand's lead. Then that in turn, then that leaves maybe Numenor defenseless for a bit, or maybe he's only with Farazon or something like that. And that'd be quite an interesting thing if, of course, Halbrand is evil and Sauron, which is, of course, unconfirmed. I think that is a very interesting point around how Sauron and Adar will both come together. And also Troy Hillman said, I wonder if they'd introduce Sauron in disguise and as an unassuming yet attractive elf in a legion that cozies up to Celebrimbor, reveals his skill as a smith and worksmith. I think that's probably that's the lore version of it. And I think that comes into the next question. And I'm not sure around this, and I'm sure you probably know. Is Anatar actually spoken in that term used in appendices?
Don't think so, but I'm not sure.
And that's what people
Could
think.
be.
Maybe Adar's
There's
just
a lot of
not
stuff in the
name.
appendices, you know.
I don't think
But
I don't think he is. I think people have done their research, and I think they pointed out that he isn't mentioned.
Yeah, I
as
think
a
Digital Tolkien
Anatar.
Guide on Twitter went through all the words, and I don't remember seeing an Anatar there. So maybe some people are thinking maybe Anatar is Adar, and they just had to change the name. But then of course with Adar, of course, I think it's Sindarin for father, and he's a father for orcs. So there has been some thought into this name, regardless of Anatar anyway. So that would be interesting to see how they would play. But I'm even thinking for the Tolkien estate, if you want, of course, you want Tolkien's works to be portrayed as best as possible on screen, and I'm sure they must have thought to say, okay, of course you haven't got the rights to other stuff, but we'll let you have Anatar. You know, I'm sure
they could.
that must have gone on because otherwise it's not setting up a failure because a name is not the be all and end all. You know, but it is something like, of course, if you want it to be as lore accurate as possible, then you got maybe potentially the Tolkien estate tying one hand behind your back. It might be a bit hard, but I think yeah, that's just something that will develop, and I think again, just for final thoughts overall around, I think no, we didn't get Carl. Your final thoughts on Adar?
I would say it's an O for me. I know that's a cop out, but I'm open to seeing how they handle it, how it plays out. I know early on there was a lot of talk about Sauron not being in the first season, and then it kind of evolved into Sauron not being revealed in the second season or in the first season. And there was a lot of talk about how that was due to pacing issues. And I do wonder now that we know this information, if this is how they're kind of relieving some of those pacing issues.
Yeah, I think Ken did make a good point early on with, like, you know, if you leave evil too late into the season, it does. And of course we don't want to talk about, you know, of course we're going to talk about positive and negatives about the show, but the more I'm like getting all this together, there is starting to, you know, be a growing problem that maybe if there's maybe being too much tackled in the first, not too much tackled, but more as in if it will be a bit slow in the sense because you are having to go set everything up, do this and that, and that is that I think that is a legitimate worry, and I think maybe having Adar does, you're not spicing things up, but, you know, changes things up a bit and adds a different dynamic to the show. And also Kugel bit said maybe Adar is the mouth of Sauron. That is a really interesting one I haven't heard before.
The Mouth of Sauron is mortal, though. I think
Yeah, he
people
was a
easily
Black
forget
Numenorean.
this. Yeah, he was I mean, I presume that he would have been like a line of people that would have served Sauron under that title.
He also would have had to come from
still
a little later in the Third Age.
Yeah, I mean, very
and
late.
be Galadriel's brother.
So he's
And be
mortal,
Galadriel's brother.
Yeah, and but Ken, if they are moving Gandalf to the second age, and anything's possible, then isn't it? If you believe Meteor Man is Gandalf.
Ken has left the chat.
I don't. I'm
I think it's
confused.
more Ken wanted to be Gandalf.
Maybe,
as
yeah,
opposed
that
to-
could be.
Oh,
That's what I'm starting to think.
He's putting
Because
that
I think
reverse
honestly-
psychology out into the
Yeah,
universe.
that's what I mean. I honestly think Amazon are hoping people think it's, Gandalf because of
I think the same thing that I said earlier, which is that for casual audience members, it being Gandalf would be a surprise. As to us, it will just be, the thing that you are taking as a misdirection, I'm taking as for us, as something that we're supposed to pick up on that casual audience members won't necessarily pick up on. So I think he's definitely. I mean, I don't know, but I'm very scared.
But it'd be interesting to see Meteor Man. But I do think Meteor Man in general is, no matter what, even if this show fails, it's probably one of the funniest things that has come out of it thus far. This whole Meteor Man,
Most
and I love
parodistic.
again. I love because I remember in December people when we revealed it, people are absolutely going like crazy around it. How does work and talk? Because a lot of people actually, despite our credibility, didn't even believe us that there is a Meteor Man, that someone arrives from the sky, lands on the ground, gets looked after by hobbits, this and that. And of course, in the trailer, all came out to be. And I think what's his name again? His official name, the
Stranger.
loner, the stranger. What? Why do they call him the loner? I do just think overall that it is going to be interesting to see how Meteor Man and Adar play, because we also did release that Meteor Man might be a villain as well, and seeing how that pans out will be quite an interesting thing. But I think, Nick, I see you nodding your head for about a few minutes now while we'll be talking. Any final thoughts?
Not really. I feel like I've said everything I need to say on this topic.
Mm.
But I think the conversation is interesting, and yeah, they've definitely given us a lot to think about and a lot to analyze. I don't think we're gonna get any answers anytime soon, though.
And I think that is a good way just to wait and see how this all pans out. And of course, don't forget we have the second day show this Sunday, and two of the people here, Lakitia and Carl, you'll be seeing them this Sunday. And I think before we head off now,
Can I just have my final thoughts for a moment?
Sorry, did we not go with you?
I don't even.
Go for it.
It's very late. I just wanted to say that if Adar does end up being a relative of Galadriel, as one of her brothers or a nephew or whatever, I'm not a big fan of the idea, but I am really intrigued by how they develop the whole story, or rather how they end it. How this dynamic is gonna be developing. I hope if it does end up being true, I hope they don't go for full-on melodrama. But I think there is some potential here for some interesting tension, and even for some catharsis at the very end. That's all. I've probably already said this tonight. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Don't think so. Not that way, no.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think safe to say we have covered all bases today around this new Dark Lord thing. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we have the second day show back this Sunday, and I think since probably about September last year, it's probably been the most requested leaks live video. It's like, can we talk about the elves? Can we talk about the elves? Can we talk about the elves? This and that. Always about elves, and I think we've done, of course, episodes on elven characters, it's like Galadriel, but that is kind of copying out at the same time, because it's more of a Galadriel as opposed to the elves in general. We've had like whole Numenorian episodes, mainly on Numenorians and the dwarves, etc.
We did have one elven. We did have one elf-centered one with the sets and everything.
Yeah, but I'm sure compared this weekend's leaks compared to that will be probably much more exciting. So yeah, make sure to be back this Sunday, 6:30 p.m. UK time premiere, and yeah, we have some really interesting elven leaks as well. So yeah, really excited. I think one of them does excite me very much. So,
They
yeah.
are cool. They're
Looking-
cool for sure.
It's super
Yeah.
exciting.
And looking forward to that then. But I think we have been just about over an hour. As I said, awesome having Likitia back in action.
Yeah,
but lovely.
I was MIA last week. But I thought the show was absolutely marvelous. I watched it live, and the guys did a great job. So, yay!
Indeed. But first of all, thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Hen.
Thank you as usual.
Thank you,
Always
Likitia, for coming on this last minute.
It's Penguin. Thanks for having me.
And of course, thank you to the wizard behind the scenes, Carl.
Namarie, thank you.
And his cat.
Arda, that's
I
Arda.
saw the cat in the background for a minute.
Yeah, she's creepy.
And
She made a cameo.
also, what would be nice, I think,
She made a catio.
Catio.
I
Oh
think
wow.
That's
Oh,
terrible.
wow.
I'm never using that again.
and
Also, thank you, Fellowship, for being here and
thank
for
you,
doing
thank
this.
you. Thank you, really appreciate it. And TalkTube also said that he'd be watching from home. Maybe say some get well soons in chat for TalkTube because he is quite sick, so he couldn't make it today. So yeah, of course, good well wishes to him from us here, and also hopefully we'll be seeing Penguin back as well. But poll. Do you like the addition of Adar as a new villain? 62% yes, 37% no. Very interesting. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And until the next, or we all do. Until the next one, goodbye.